Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. My name is Travis.
And I'm Patrick, with a special guest today.
Yes, I'm Niall McGowan from Batman.
And most recently
welcome.
from our Richie Rich episode.
That's right, yeah. It's one of those things, like, I think it's like, it never rains but it pours, though, because it was wasn't on the show for ages. Then, a couple months ago, we did Jurassic Park, then Richie Rich, 2 weeks ago, now this. And I think the next show I'm scheduled for is, when you're in the 2000s. So
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
be a while until I'm back.
If Josie and the Pussycats, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Josie, and I think then near that, it's Josie and the Pussycats, and then Ghost World, which I think are nearly within a couple of weeks of each other as well.
Right.
Wow, Jurassic Park to Richie Rich. It's a heck of a ride.
It's like a roller coaster that only goes down, really. Although, to be fair, I do have a lot of good things to say about Tank Girl. I'm not too sure what you guys felt about the movie overall, but I know it is a yeah, it's an interesting one.
For sure. So we're here to talk about Tank Girl from 1995. And does anyone have history with Tank Girl? Niall, I'm guessing you do.
Well, yeah. This is because I'm obviously Irish, but I grew up in within the vicinity of England, and because of that, Tank Girl is iconic over here, as a kind of underground, counterculture figure, and so the imagery, not so much I know this film well, but more so because the imagery of Tank Girl has followed me throughout my entire life, and
okay.
A lot of it's from this movie. Most of it's from the comics, because the comics are massive as well. It's not even really going straight for a long time, but I know people who I grew up with and went to university with and stuff, and they are the Tank Girl aesthetic is kind of part of their whole brand. No girls have the shaved head and always wearing the kind of postmodern clusterfuck of clothing where it's just random badges and bits of all that kind of stuff stuck together, and it's kind of the character's a real linchpin in so many aspects of iconic British culture, because it was created by co-created by a guy, Jamie Hewlett, and then he went on to he was sharing an apartment with Damon Albarn after Tank Girl. Damon Albarn is the lead singer of Blur. And Blur is one of the biggest bands that come out of the Britpop movement in the 1990s. And because my older brother was in his 20s, or in his late teens, early 20s, when this film came out, and I was living in the same house as him. So I was hearing Blur, seeing Tank Girl stuff plastered all over magazines, stuff in his room all the time. And then when those two guys, Jamie Hewlett and Damon Albarn, were living together, they came up with the band Gorillaz, which is one of the biggest bands in the UK at the minute as well. And that art style is very synonymous. Yeah. And you can kind of tell. You could tell just by looking at it. Oh, it's the same guy who made Tank Girl, because they all kind of look a bit like Tank Girl and stuff.
Yeah, there are definitely a few of the comic frames in this movie that I could instantly tell. Oh, that's the same person that did the art for Gorillaz. I didn't know at what level of the connection there was, but
but it's one of those scenarios where I do know a lot of people who just love the aesthetic of Tank Girl, who probably haven't seen the movie or might not have read the comics and stuff. But the thing is, the comic, though, is one of those ones. I think that might be one of the problems with the film, is that I think they only ever did one long graphic novel where it was a continuing story. It was more of a comic strip, almost like a Garfield kind of thing, where you just have random 3 or 4 page adventures with Tank Girl, and it was just very silly and very quick, and it didn't have much of a story. And that kind of then when you try to insert the character into a larger narrative, it kind of becomes a bit I don't know if it works in long form. I think she needs to be more of a short cartoon kind of thing. It'd be making a serious narrative featuring Bugs Bunny. It's sort of I don't know if you can cross those. I guess they did that with Space Jam, really. But if you want to put Tank Girl in Space Jam, by all means,
right?
Let's go.
It kind of works, yeah.
Yeah, I got that feeling that it I honestly, one of my big notes was I kind of would have rather this been an animated film because it gave me such a Looney Tunes-esque kind of vibe to like the frantic pace of Tank Girl. Like, she's got serious like attention deficit disorder going on. Like,
I think it is that MTV generation, postmodern, flicking around channels. Everything's all meshed together. Like, you just have bits of random culture shoved together that don't really gel, but that's just like, yep, that's what she's into. So it's all sort of mixed in, and it's. But you can see like there's a lot of and rewatching it's like there's a massive like you can see influences of it. At least the character throughout, like particularly like friggin' Birds of Prey last year. It's like, oh yeah, this is Tank Girl all over, right down to, you know, blonde lead character kind of talking to the camera and stuff, and wearing these, you know, hodgepodge psychedelic clothing, and then you know, even further helped by the fact that apparently Margot Robbie and like that Lucky Chap Productions company that she runs are trying to remake Tank Girl. So it's getting to a point. It's like, I hope she doesn't just play her, because then that's just going to be like, well, you're just playing Harley Quinn again. Yeah, because it's essentially kind of like the way you were playing her in Birds of Prey.
Yeah, I think I wrote down that Tank Girl is like Deadpool and Harley Quinn combined into one character.
Yeah, it is very much. Like, it's kind of like you almost can't see the inception of Deadpool. I don't. When did Deadpool kind of become that character though? Like
80. Well. Not until like the mid 90s did he kind of become the wacky Deadpool. He was created like 87, but was just a generic kind of mercenary hitman kind of character. So
yeah, it could be a bit of influence even, you know, leaked in there as well. So
yeah, Patrick, you have any history with the movie?
Not at all. This is the first time seeing it.
Same here.
I mean, I've seen the poster. Obviously, I knew of it. I just had no interest based on zero marketing and the poster looking kind of weird, and the fact that I couldn't stand Lori Petty on League of Their Own.
Oh, gotcha. Man. I think that I do. Like, again, too, it came at a good time for me as well, because this is summer in '95, and around the time that's when I started reading my brother's film magazines, mostly because Batman Forever was coming out. We just friggin' did a whole year covering Batman Forever. But because I think this came out in like March of that year, and then Batman Forever came out in June, every time you're reading up on Batman Forever, within pages there was something about Tank Girl and Judge Dredd, like within quick succession and stuff. So.
I wonder, when you were talking about the Britain being, you know, inundated with this character, I wondered, it kind of sounded like a Judge Dredd kind of situation as well, just something from the comics that's very like, you know, tied into the British, I don't know, pop culture.
It would be one of those things you would almost assume that Tank Girl was a character from 2000 AD, because it's a similar kind of thing, but you know, she wasn't. She came from a different. I think the magazine she featured in was called like Deadline or something. I think it was called, but I think it went under the same year this movie came out, so nowhere near the lasting power of 2000 AD. But then. Also the thing of like Judge Dredd Judge Dredd I guess is more of like a comment on American things. Sure. But it's just odd that like this was it's a very British kind of comic strip in its humor, but it's obviously set in Australia, and yet the film has a very American lead character, and also the same then with Judge Dredd, where they just had like Americaned it up. Yeah. Even though again it was set in America, but then to get in Stallone to play that character, it's like, I don't know if you guys are getting the humor of Judge Dredd or what the actual character's about and stuff. Right. But I suppose you guys will be talking about that soon enough anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, the other thing is she came out with a movie that was adjacent from a theme standpoint, and that's In the Army Now with Pauly Shore. Again, another movie I did not like her in, so this movie I gave it a hard pass at the time.
I think at the time I just wasn't aware of this. I mean, I was in '95, I was 12, you know, and I was geared up for Batman Forever, but this just, I vaguely kind of remember thinking, is this No Doubt? You know, is this just a music video is this Gwen Stefani? Because honestly, the two look very similar, especially when she's wearing goggles and like, and some parts of the movie are just shot like a music video. So I think if I'd seen the trailer, I would have just thought this was something related to No Doubt, not understanding that this was a movie based on a comic, because I just would have been too unaware at the time of what this was. So it was completely off my radar as a kid. So that I just never had a inkling to go back and rewatch or watch Tank Girl for the first time. I just kind of felt like I just missed that boat. So
it's one of those ones though. It feels like it's due like a renaissance, like, because it still is regarded as being like a terrible film. But a lot of things that came out that were initially considered to be terrible, like Demolition Man or something, now are very revered as being like, right. Oh no, that's a real classic. And because this is so influential, even like elements of like even Scott Pilgrim, where like in that movie they would put in artwork from the actual comics to kind of do flashbacks, and that's exactly what they do here. And I don't know if that's where Edgar Wright got it from, but I can imagine him probably saying like, oh yeah, that was I remember seeing that in Tank Girl back in '95, and that was buried away in the back of my head somewhere. But it feels like it should be like due, like a kind of like, oh, people come back and have an appreciation for Tank Girl nowadays. But no one cares. Is the thing.
Yeah, I think with the Harley Quinn of it all, I don't think it would do well, and especially if Margot Robbie was attached to it, I think it would just feel like they were trying to copy Harley Quinn. So
yeah, actually, that would be the thing. It would seem like the knockoff. It'll be like the way that Dune influenced Star Wars, and then if you watch Dune nowadays, it's like, oh, it's a lot of Star Wars in this, isn't there? It feels like it's ripping off the thing. It was like, no, the other thing ripped this off,
Yeah. Speaking of like history, I did reach out to our Facebook group, see if anyone had any thoughts on Tank Girl. I'll share those before we get started. And so from Nate Withrow, says, Tank Girl is extremely weird and makes no sense, but Lori Petty's enthusiasm and manic energy makes up for it.
Agree.
Okay. Brian Lockhart from the Marine Corps Movie Minute and my future co-host says, I remember thinking the movie was too out there for me. I hated Lori Petty because she annoyed me in League of Their Own.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
I watched the movie because it was a comic book movie, but honestly, it's not good. Changed my mind. So we'll see what happens see how you feel at the end of this one, Brian. And then last is Sean Malloy. Yeah, to this day, I'll always remain stunned that a major studio bankrolled this film. Yeah. Lori Petty was a recognizable face, but she really wasn't a bankable name. Ice-T is a kangaroo? ? And based on a super obscure underground comic book, was MGM United Artists surprised that it, pardon the pun, tanked at the box office? So, yeah, that's Sean Malloy from I Must Break This Podcast, the Dolph Lundgren podcast.
Yeah. All right. So
it's a fair point, though. Like it is like, yeah, what were MGM thinking though? Because it is like it does have everything in this. Seems like, oh, this is a destined cult film. This doesn't have box office smash written on it at all. Like it's not like it's not like they're making a Superman movie. It's just like a lot of people, like you guys are saying over there, would be just like, who the hell is Tank Girl? Like, and over here, Tank Girl will be like, oh, she's like the poster child for the the LGBT movement, where you had like protest marches where people holding up Tank Girl signs and stuff. But the Gen Pop is just like, a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that's the picture that's in magazines a lot of the time and stuff. But yeah, it is kind of. I think that I know that it was it was Rachel Talalay who did the who directed it, and I think she recently was even trying to lobby to direct a new Tank Girl as well. Like, she's so impassioned by the character that she was like, I want another bite at the apple and stuff. I believe it was like she saw it while she was making Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which is like, just I love Nightmare on Elm Street. That's a tough movie to sit through.
Rachel Talalay is a name that I've known for a while, and I didn't know why. And so I looked up her IMDb, and she directed this and maybe like 6 or 8 other movies, and nothing like that was on my radar. I think she's a name that I've heard Kevin Smith talk about quite a bit.
I know her mostly now, well, obviously from this and Freddy's Dead. But you would consider that a real mark against her name. But she actually did direct like one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever.
Okay.
Like she did a lot of the Peter Capaldi season finales. But there's an episode called Heaven Sent, which is like one of those, it's like a bottle episode with one person. It's literally Peter Capaldi trapped in a tower for like 45 minutes. And as you're watching, it's just like, I can't believe it. It's just so kind of like, kind of like sophisticated and so kind of like cerebral. The fact that it's like a Saturday afternoon, family viewing, it's like so weird that episode was like approved to be an episode of Doctor Who. But yeah, she was behind that. And after that, we're like, oh, that's the lady who made Tank Girl made that. Holy crap, that was great. But I think like, the Rachel Talalay was the one, I think she was the one shopping it around studios and stuff, saying like, will anybody make this? Look, I want to make it. Well, who will make it with me? And then eventually it was MGM. I think she got an offer from Disney, and she was like, nah, I think they'll cut it down and take out a lot of the adult content. Oh, MGM would never do that. And then they made it. And then that's exactly what they did.
Catherine Hardwicke was another name I noticed in the credits, in the opening credits, and I was like, I know that name. And yeah, she was production designer here. So, I mean, her work is, in your face throughout the entire movie. But she goes on to direct the first Twilight movie.
Oh, that's the same. Oh, that Catherine Hardwicke. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well, I know Twilight apparently is having its renaissance at the minute. I've seen a lot of, I've not delved into it myself, but I've seen a lot of YouTube thumbnails saying apparently Twilight is back somehow in our lifetime. It's come back.
I'm always just surprised that no one has started a Twilight Minute in our little movies by minute community. I'm just shocked that no one's ever decided to start one. So
a lot of emo talk.
Well, yeah, but who knows?
I think it might just be fear that if you did, you just get like a lot of guys coming on the guest who'll be like, "What the fuck do you like this for?"
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
You're just gonna be finding people who will admit to unironically liking Twilight. Must be
right.
It's a real needle in a haystack scenario, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I like some of those movies. Some parts in all of them. So
yeah, I don't think they needed that many movies. Is the problem?
No. Yeah.
You could have condensed it.
Yeah. Although, in speaking about Twilight, though, Kristen Stewart wouldn't be a bad Tank Girl nowadays. Like,
yeah.
She's got that. She's seen that Charlie's Angel movie. She's got a kind of lively humor about her at times as well. So it could work. And she's got the aesthetic, the clipped
I could
blonde
buy
hair
that,
and stuff. Yeah, why not?
Huh.
It's like anything but Margot Robbie, basically. I think that's the fear. It's like if she plays that part, then it's just like, why bother? Why make this thing at all?
Yeah. So the movie opens with like comic book panels. You could tell it's just lifted from, I'm assuming, from the original artwork and everything. I doubt all of it was created for the movie. Some of it looked like just because of the layering, like cut out image on glass, like it created a little shadow. Like you can tell that it's looked like old school animation. But it reminded me of, and I'm a horrible Kevin Smith fan for not remembering which movie opened with a comic book like opening Mallrats or Chasing Amy.
I kind of thought it might have been both of them, to be honest.
Okay, maybe that's why I'm having a hard time remembering which one, But it reminded me of that, and then I just assumed going into this that it was just going to be for the opening kind of credit sequence. So I was surprised throughout the movie that the comic book panels and animation came into it as like these interstitial, little segments. So,
I think one of the creators, Alan Martin or Jamie Hewlett, I think they said that they just forgot to shoot certain. I can't believe this is actually true, but the quote was like they forgot to shoot certain sequences, so we had to go back and animate them to put them in.
Huh.
I was like, I can't imagine that's actually a thing where someone's just like, oops, we just didn't shoot this thing, so I guess we gotta shove in a cartoon instead. Like that doesn't make sense at all to me.
I thought it was a budget trick. I thought they just didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah. There's one part in the movie I completely would buy that, and I'll point it out when we get there. But there's definitely a sequence where it's like the jump from where characters were to where they end up. It just makes no sense. It's a logic leap that the animation kind of helps with, but yeah, I'll point it out when we get there. But this one, it starts with like it's 2032, I think she says, and it, starts out with some narration, which is helpful, to explain this like Mad Maxian Waterworld style like apocalypse that's happened. There was a comet that came down, and there hasn't been rain for 11 years, so it's kind of
it's full on Fury Road right there.
Yeah,
there's a water shortage, and there's one dictator who controls the water and stuff. It's like George Miller just sitting back, like, if no one sees this thing, maybe I can just swipe this plot line tenfold. We'll also say that it opens with the soundtrack to this is also like legitimately fantastic. Apparently curated by Courtney Love.
I saw that, yeah.
Like assembled the soundtrack for them somehow, and yeah, the opening song is a cover of Devo's "Girl You Want" by Devo, where I think they originally wanted to use the Soundgarden cover of Devo's "Girl You Want," and that was too expensive to license. So Devo just said, "We'll just re-record you a version that sounds like the Soundgarden version."
Wow.
Which is like very good of them, because you think they'll be like, "No, use our version or get the hell out." But they're like, "No, we'll make it again for you."
Huh.
Yeah, the Courtney Love thing was interesting. I saw that she was supposed to be more involved, but of course, Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, but timing-wise, that
happened. So she became less involved.
I think she was.
She was still.
I think she was supposed. She was one of the people in contention to play Subgirl, who was like a one scene big character in the comics. One scene in this, played by the other Cusack.
Yeah,
who's not John or Joanne. The other Cusack.
And
every
Cusack?
time you see her, it's like, Anne Cusack. Every time I see her, it's like, that's not Joanne Cusack, is it? No, it must be just some completely different person. It's like, no, there's a third Cusack that just no one cares about.
Yeah.
But that's her. She popped in. But yeah, I think Courtney Love was supposed to have that part. And then, Kurt Cobain died. And I think that was offered to Bjork as well.
Yeah.
Which would have been, would have been interesting. And then, she dropped out at the last minute as well. There's a couple of things like that. I think apparently they also wanted to option music from like a little known American band called Green Day. And around 94, 95, Green Day became huge.
Yeah.
So original plans were just like, you can't afford these guys anymore. Like, what you could have bought for like a couple of grand last year will now cost you significantly more. So
I was surprised.
Cool. That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, they have that aesthetic that would have worked with the movie, especially with like some of the animated little segments. If that was backed up by Green Day music, I could see that.
Green Day album that blew up called Dookie. Their album cover is very similar vibe art-wise. If you ever look at it, it's kind of like a mantic pop art looking, almost like I don't know. It's like it has some similarities to the art
for sure
settings in this movie. So I could see the connective tissue there between the two artists, I guess.
I was kind of surprised actually as well that and what you're saying, Travis, about like, oh, it kind of looks just like Gwen Stefani. I'm surprised there's not No Doubt plastered throughout the movie as well. You think that's like era appropriate?
Yeah, I kept waiting to hear like I'm Just a Girl playing, or I wonder if that didn't play on the trailer for some reason.
It
think
almost makes you think like there's like a reason that it was like was like, were they trying to get to No Doubt's music, and Gwen Stefani's like, I'll give it to you if I play Tank Girl, and they're like, no, can't do it.
Well, did they get too big?
And so it's like, well, you get.
I don't think they were. I think Tragic Kingdom had just released, because this is like right in the.
Because Spiderwebs was pretty huge on the radio.
Yeah. This is like right in the age where I'm just getting into music, and it was this kind of stuff. So it was No Doubt, and then I was amazed to hear a Bush song, fairly close to the opening here, and I was a huge Bush fan.
I bet you were.
Just gonna leave that there. Yep.
Big Bushman. Got it.
Big Bushman. Of course, Gavin Rossdale of Bush goes on to marry Gwen Stefani. Power couple there. I don't know where I was going with that, but
yeah, no, this movie just unlocks hey, this reminds me of this. This reminds me of this. So, like the artwork in the beginning or throughout with the little animated segments is very reminiscent of a video game called Borderlands. It's
I've seen the cover art, so I know the basics of what you're talking about.
Yeah, in that it has a similar dystopian look to it and crazy characters. If you ever play the game and actually get into the characters, I could see a lot of Tank Girl influence possibly into that series of video games. So it's all over the place with Tank Girl. It gave me a lot of nostalgia watching this movie because I kept seeing things that made me think of other things like we've been talking about. And I was like, man, maybe this thing's underrated. I don't know.
Yeah. Just kind of touch on little moments in the opening, I guess. We see her riding through the desert on, I think, a water buffalo, and she comes across I guess he's a pilot, I think, based on his jumpsuit that we see later on. She takes something off of him, like a silver ball that comes into play later.
Oh, phantasm ball. Not just because, again, I'm reminding you of other things. It's just, the little flying balls from Phantasm. Just looks exactly like that.
And then she ends up at this old Victorian style house in the middle of these sand dunes. And then in that house, you've got this community of people, kind of your standard issue, dirty scavenger type, people scrounging to make it work here in the desert. There's kids, there's you'll eventually meet her boyfriend, and just kind of setting up that that community that she lives with. Oh, she talks about she's finding a birthday present for her boyfriend, I think. Going out shopping or something is what she's doing out in the wastelands.
Getting those boots.
And we meet Malcolm McDowell as the bad guy. It just it's a great introduction to a great villainous intro for Malcolm McDowell's character, Kesley, I think.
Yeah, Kesley.
Yeah.
Just
it's just
dripping.
Oh, he's chewing.
I think they put out too that I think they put when they're assembling people who do we want to be in this, they put down Malcolm McDowell saying he'll never sign up for this, and then he immediately did, and it's Malcolm McDowell will star in any old crap. He's got
he's kind of one of those guys that'll kind of do anything.
Yeah, he's a real make check payable too. He's just I don't mind. He's always great and stuff. I always welcome seeing him, but he's very much just I mean, if you pay me, I'll be in your student film. I'll be in your music video. I'll be in whatever. I don't care. And I think getting him in too, I think that is a very deliberate kind of bit of when intertextual sort of referencing, because he's from obviously A Clockwork Orange. And that's kind of his most iconic role, and that's obviously violent dystopian future with roaming gangs and things like this. And I think immediately after the scene he's introduced, it cuts to Tank Girl wearing a bowler hat, and she's got very pronounced kind of eyebrows or eyelashes, and it's yep, it's Clockwork Orange. Get it? That's what we're going for, right?
Yeah.
With the intro that she does, the recap of the world. I was kind of I kept waiting for Dr. Prophet to show up and never really got that until, they unload the cargo, I guess.
Yeah.
But
that
I kept waiting for
felt like
him
it
to
came
show
out
up.
of nowhere later as well, too. Yeah. Okay.
I was that was probably one of my biggest pet peeves, was waiting for Dr. Prophet, because I thought he was going to be a big deal. Because why name him, name drop him? I don't even remember Kesley getting name dropped in the intro. They just call it Water and Power or something.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know his name until I don't know, midway through the movie. So
that intro scene with McDowell though is the actual like the thing he has, what he's actually doing to get water. Actually, like, you know, a lot of the story of this movie is a bit flimsy and is, you know, maybe not the best. I actually think that's that's a really good idea for a villain to have, like, this is how I get water. It's like I extract it from people's bodies and literally suck them dry. It's like, and it's a good visual too, like the crinkly bottle filling up and seeing people's hands just like deflate and stuff like balloons. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll give it to you. It's almost got a kind of Freddy Krueger-esque, you know, a Nightmare on Elm Street sequence kind of vibe to it. Like, I almost imagine that's because Rachel Talalay, prior to directing Nightmare on Elm Street 6, she worked on like the first 4 in like production capacity. So I'll say that's a little bit of a crossover. It's like I learned the ropes there, so I could bring it to this.
I think that was totally that stuff's totally worked. Especially the breaking the glass. You know, as he's just getting angry and then making the guy take his boots off and walk across that broken glass I thought was great. It's just so evil and so malicious, and then the perfect capper is at the end of the scene. You find out he's barefoot as well, and it has no problem walking around in this broken glass. So,
okay. Also reminded me though of a sequence in Birds of Prey where Black Mask gets upset and then he goes over and starts berating this woman in his club and forces her to dance on a table in front of everybody and kind of freaks everyone out.
Right.
It's the same scenario. Basically, if Black Mask was making that woman walk on glass, the scene would be identical virtually.
Yeah. But yeah.
So did you guys think there should have been more water out of a body? That was my note. I was like, that's all you get? I thought we were like, a good percentage of water was the makeup of our body.
I don't know.
It should be like holding like a super soaker kind of sized device.
I pictured like a water cooler kind of.
I don't think we have 5 gallons of water in us.
I know. I just pictured something bigger than like a sports bottle. Like, I don't know. I'd hope that a human life could produce more water than that, but whatever. I did like that he drank it right after.
Oh, that was great though.
I like that.
Yep. Oh, that's perfect.
I thought he was going to say, ugh, tastes funky or something like that.
Yeah.
Or he tastes awful or something weird like that. But no, he enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think just kind of like it doesn't even taste good. You know, the kind of just failure as a goon, also failure as a bottle of water.
Tastes weak.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Well, we'll say McDowell kind of lended back in the day like a real an extra cult kind of like underground vibe to it as well. Because I don't know if you guys are aware that like at the time this movie came out, A Clockwork Orange was banned in England, like in the UK, you know, around the area of Europe, and the fact then it was kind of seeing Malcolm McDowell. It's like not only is he from Caligula, which is like, you know, kind of a naughty, forbidden movie. He's also in a movie that was like, it was so violent that it was banned, and it's like the director doesn't want you to see it and stuff. So to have him there, it's kind of like, oh, it's cool underground film guy, where it's like it's the guy from the band movie and stuff. Also knowing that he's also in Milk Money with Melanie Griffiths, where you know like some crappy kids movie, playing Two Doors Down. But it did, you know, back in the day though when you couldn't get seen in that movie. But you see, you know, Malcolm McDowell in Tank Girl. I was like, oh yeah, this kind of makes it gives it a cooler edge to the whole thing.
Huh. Yeah, this time I remember we had it was like the era of VHS tapes, obviously. So there was always somebody that knew somebody that had a tape, and one of those was Clockwork Orange or this other movie called Kids that was pretty messed up.
Oh. Yeah, the Chloe Sevigny or Sevigny. I never learned
like
how to pronounce her last name.
Yeah, so like that was my timing of Clockwork Orange was right in that like in this era, like junior high, mid '90s era. So yeah, I could totally see that adding some edge to it at the time this came out, at least for, you know, folks that are getting into his Clockwork Orange area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but then you have Milk Money.
So also say
heck of a juxtaposition.
As again, there's a guy he will star in whatever you want him to star in. So remember he showed up in Easy A as the principal, and you're just like watching Emma Stone be a high school student, and then Malcolm McDowell's her principal. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you in this? It's like, they paid me. Of course I'm going to be in it.
Hey, he's going to be gone, and we'll have a bunch of weird stuff to remember him by someday.
Yeah.
Same with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot to remember.
He's in that, like, weird area of, like, he's up there kind of with Terrence Stamp and kind of a Ben Kingsley. Like, they'll all kind of do the same kind of stuff, but they're not, like, they want to be an Anthony Hopkins, but, yeah, they're just not that level. I don't know, but they've done great stuff,
Yeah. He's actually great in... It's weird that I have to defend the show so much, but he was in Mozart in the Jungle, which was the Gael Garcia Bernal show about where he was a conductor of the New York Symphony Orchestra. And I keep seeing people online ripping into that show because nobody watched it, but it kept winning awards. And everyone's like, "What? Who cares about this thing? It looks boring." And like, why does it keep winning awards? Nobody's watching it. And I'm over there going, "It's great. It deserves those awards, and everybody should be watching it." But I guess it just, much like Tank Girl, didn't find the audience in time because it's just like, I guess a hard pitch of like, this guy's a conductor. I hope you're into orchestras because that's the show.
I'll always, I kind of always think of Malcolm McDowell as the voice of Metallo in the animated Superman series that was going on around this same time.
Of course, Livewire, voiced by Lori Petty in that same show. So there you go.
All right.
So casting directors are just sitting around watching Tank Girl going like, "Can we get that Naomi Watts lady? Is she doing that thing? Does she want to be Lois Lane, maybe?" Although, we'll say, though, because I did allude earlier to it's being a bit odd that, like, to read the character of Tank Girl in the comics, she uses a lot of Australian slang. And speaks in kind of a way that you assume, like, oh, this character is definitely Australian. And you could almost tell by all the kangaroos that are around and stuff. And so it's a little odd that, like, you went for, like, someone with a very distinctly, almost like hyper-American accent to come in. But I will say, Lori Petty is, like, perfect. She is just... to go back and read the books after watching the movie, it's almost difficult to separate her voice then. Because she blends into the character... in my opinion, anyway, like so well. And I think she kind of carried Tank Girl with her afterwards. Like, I think, she always did have like really short hair and stuff.
Sure.
But to kind of like a sensible degree. But then you see like pictures of her throughout the later part of the 90s. Her hair's a lot crazier and stuff. Like she's clinging on to like the Tank Girl aesthetic herself. And it'd be one of those ones if they do reboot it in some fashion, I imagine like Lori Petty will fight tooth and nail to get a cameo in there somewhere.
Sure. She pops up in Orange is the New Black in like one of the second or third seasons, and still has that very short haircut that she has in this. But she's kind of maintained that look for the most part. The thing about like, I didn't watching this, I didn't know she was meant to be Australian, like in the original book. Obviously she's not meant to be Australian here. She is very American. And I want to say in the opening sequence, I thought it was the Golden Gate Bridge that she's nearby when she's combing the desert. And I got the sense that most of the world is just sand dunes and desert, and there's not... So world travel is a little easier.
Yeah. Because you could just walk a water buffalo.
Yeah.
To Australia if you wanted.
I mean, I don't think she went from San Francisco all the way to to somewhere in near Australia, but I get the sense that like people have scattered and can people from Australia and that kangaroo thing, like they can be more spread out, and they're not isolated, I guess, the way the oceans have separated.
Yeah, the Dr. Prophet was looking for a way to make seawater drinkable. So there's, 11 years isn't long enough for the oceans to dry up. So there's got to be a decent chunk of seawater. It's just not drinkable.
Yeah.
Too bad the water guy couldn't, help out there and put his efforts into turning people into water bottles, but whatever.
I think at least dead people. At least like, if someone dies, then you can turn them into water.
Yeah, it's
like,
just not as fresh.
Yeah. The heart needs to be beating when you collect that water.
That sparkling water vibe.
Yeah.
It's, pulsating.
Yeah. One of the thoughts I had when she's in the trench, kind of like, she's on guard duty, essentially, protecting her place. And then, this guy in raid gear, like, pops up, and she starts to do this, like, sensual, scissor routine, cutting up her stockings. And this is when Bush starts playing, and the entire time I'm thinking, like, I feel like this isn't the world where you just cut up all your stuff. Like, resources are limited, so I think of things like Mad Max and Waterworld. It's like you don't ruin anything, you keep everything. And so she's like cutting up her outfit, and I don't know, it was just a weird thought I had.
I think a lot of it is like, if you start to question too much of anything, and it really does fall apart. Like, limited resources for like water and food and stuff like that. But it's just always like, oh, it seems to be like plentiful amounts of beer and random crap and stuff around. It's like, I don't know how desperate this apocalypse is. Because they seem to have a lot of stuff that you would want just lying around. But
because they have everything else. It seems like they got fuel. They have like
Although at one point then they do. I thought it was a bit odd because they have the sequence of her going for like a sand shower. Which was just, I don't know if that would work in any capacity. Like, just dump sand on yourself.
I thought it was like delousing stuff, because there is like a delousing room.
Yeah, there was like a separate station, I think, for delousing. I think, she was taking like a sand shower, I think.
Okay, so they were separate. Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I guess it could soak up the sweat on you, and then that's about
I think
it.
that's kind of what it's for. Like, you see animals will bathe themselves in, like, you see birds will bathe themselves in, like, dust. Like, they'll find a pocket of, like, fine dirt, almost like dust, and they'll take a dust bath. I think it's kind of that idea. It'll absorb any of the sweat that's on you, and I guess kind of, I don't know, work in that way, I guess. And especially makes sense here. Like, they're not going to waste water on people taking showers. So
that's what I'm trying to think of, like, how you get the sand off you afterwards, because your automatic thing would be like, well, to take a shower. But
maybe there's a compressed air component. Like, you cover yourself in sand, and then you air blast the sand off of you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there's that handheld like leaf blower.
So I do have it in good authority that sand is it's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. So you're definitely going to want that. You're not going to want that on your person for too long.
Well, then you sweat again, and it rinses off the sand. It's a cycle.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that they still have the capability to create a freezer room, though.
Yeah,
because that seems like a waste of water as well. If you can heat
and cool
things, you can have condensation.
Maybe Freon is plentiful. I don't know if that requires much water.
Yeah.
I don't know how freezers work enough to.
Just seems weird.
Yeah.
Again,
let's see.
Don't think about it. That's the motto of this movie.
Yeah.
Just enjoy.
Yeah. Water and Power raids like the house that that they're all living in, and they kill most everybody. Obviously, they take the girl. And then they kill her water buffalo, like right in front of her, which I thought was really, really cruel. And then threaten rape on her, just because there's a bunch of guys, and it's like, yeah, we'll have fun with you. And then,
there's a couple of lines in there too that are like, this film, it is a bit all over the place. Like, it's good to have, because the soundtrack's very 90s. Yeah, but it's like, oh, you don't mind that, but then it does have like little references, like she's like, oh, I don't want to miss Baywatch.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
it's
like, that's really, really dated now.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, that would have been a trailer line, because it's like, get it, everyone, Baywatch. But,
and
there's a joke reference at one point, isn't it? She's...
Because it's 2032, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe people just liked watched it in the future to like look at the beaches, and we're just like, look at all that water.
Or in '95, it's inconceivable that Baywatch wouldn't still be season like, I don't know, season 42 of Baywatch.
It's just Mitch Buchanan's head on like robot legs scuttering down the beach.
Slow-mo.
Let's not forget Baywatch Nights as well.
That's right.
But there's a line too, though. She's talking to her boyfriend, and it's like, considering the amount of things they did cut from this movie, that they're like, oh, that's too much. She has a line about like, oh, your first time. Is it to her boyfriend or to the little girl? But she's saying like, oh, I remember my first time, and saying, Daddy, do you think this is all right? And it's like, oh my God, that's such a dark joke. Like,
yeah, that was a conversation she was having with Naomi Watts' character. Like, right after they meet. So
it's really like it's one of those ones. Is like maybe like the editors or the censors stepped out for coffee. That's a line I would definitely be like, no. That's way too much. But that's the kind of humor of the comic, but it's the kind of thing that they, by and large, take out of the movie from the like reading about a lot of things that they did cut. There's a lot of sort of more warped, weirder ideas and stuff. And I'm stunned that actually made it in.
Deadpool had a similar joke as well, where he's feeling around and he touches the groin of the metal dude. I'm blanking on his name.
Colossus,
yeah. And he's like, father, or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the part that made me think of Deadpool.
Yeah, maybe. So she's brought to Water and Power. She meets Kesley, and he right away like offers her a job. He wants her services.
I assume that's why they brought her, right? Because she killed somebody.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I think we're led to believe. I think we have enough information at that point to understand that they're having trouble in this one like sector, and they need to clear it out. I think they've already said the Rippers, and so. Yeah, I think we're meant to understand right away that like he wants her to go in and clear out these Rippers. These, I was getting a very Dances with Wolves and Quigley Down Under vibe of like the bad guy wants to send in this person to clear out the indigenous people.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, spoilers! I haven't seen Quigley Down Under yet.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's one of my favorite like quote unquote Western. Selleck? Yeah, it's great.
Okay. It's one of my dad's favorite movies. If that tells you anything, my dad, the guy loves westerns. He loves Tom Selleck. Quigley Down Under was the movie made for him.
It holds up. I've watched it in the last year. It's
really?
I think it's really good. Yeah.
I'll have to give it a shot.
We'll say within like the comic and stuff too. That was an aspect, like Tank Girl being like a kind of like a bounty hunter or like a mercenary for hire.
Okay.
That's like immediately established, and then I think within the continuity, she loses that job because she's asked to deliver a load of colostomy bags to the incontinent President Hogan, who runs the country.
Okay.
And she just doesn't make it in time, and I think like he poos himself like on live TV or something. Like it's very just like that. That's the humor of the comic, where it's just like, yep, we're going for it. But and I think after that, then I guess she has like a death sentence put out on her, basically. And so most of the run, she's on the run for that.
For giving him the runs.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I know it's Australian because Paul Hogan's the president.
Oh, that Paul Hogan.
I'll say like you got the two major Hogans of the 90s. It could be a reference to Hulk. It could be a reference to Paul. Like it's
I could see Hulk Hogan being incontinent.
I thought you were going to say I could see Hulk Hogan being president, but it's like, nah, I couldn't, but I could see him being incontinent as well, actually. Yeah. So yeah, why not?
Too many steel chairs to the stomach, Yeah.
Too much just gurning into a camera, just tensing the muscles too much. Yeah. He wore all of them out.
Yeah, he did body slam Andre the Giant. That had to do some damage.
Oh, man. Probably compacted his spine a little bit, probably.
Yep. Man, if nothing else, this movie has created more tangents than any movie we've ever done.
Possibly, yeah.
We're like 20 minutes into the movie.
Well,
And I think that's one of the major failings of the film, though. I think it's like everything, to me personally, everything is interesting around the movie.
yeah.
The actual plot line, I couldn't give a crap about. Like, I think once the story commences, you're just like, I'm enjoying the scenery, I'm enjoying the performance, and I'm liking the little, animated injections and stuff, and I'm liking the soundtrack. But in terms of the actual story, it's like I don't really care what's happening here.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's it's major failing to me.
Yeah, I think some of that's you don't see the suffering. Nobody seems to be suffering here.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. I mean, they're being like forced into hard labor,
Yeah.
Digging, I guess, in this pit. I don't know. I guess searching for water, I guess. So this section is just kind of her being forced into labor because she's refused to work for Kesley, and she meets up with Naomi Watts' character, who she basically intervenes while Naomi Watts is, she's called Jet. At first, Jet Girl. She's being hit on by this sleazy, guard, or I guess he's like second in command. So Tank Girl kind of rescues her and claims to be her girlfriend, and that really, really disgusts the guy, Sergeant Small.
What is that's about?
Yeah. So they end up like torturing her to get her to work for Water and Power. They put her in the freezing chamber, which I noticed like they gave her super blue contacts, which she already has very blue eyes, but like these are almost illuminated, almost like Arnold in over in Batman and Robin. But also like her teeth were like blackened almost. Like I don't know if like freezing someone makes your teeth change color, but it was very like disturbing.
Apparently they said though they cut a lot of that sequence out because the note from the studio was that she wasn't attractive enough in the scenery, which again is kind of like you can tell like, well, you're not really getting a lot of the appeal of Tank Girl. Is that like, she's sexy in a confident way, but a lot of it's just like, shaved head, hairy armpits, like just wearing whatever the hell she wants. Kind of, she's not there to be good looking for you, but she has to exudes a sexiness in her confidence and whatnot. And I think when they're making a movie about her, one of the notes from the studio to be like, she doesn't look hot enough. Basically, is like it's troubled waters are ahead.
That's unfortunate.
Although that sequence, though, again, very Deadpool-like, because then there's a whole bit in Deadpool where he's getting tortured by that guy, Francis, and he's just constantly smart-alecking and just coming back with witticisms and stuff. I was like, it's the same thing, exact scenario.
I think she says, like, I win, maybe a couple times, like telling Kesley that he can't break her, essentially. So, that is cool.
Yeah, they have a childish back and forth, like, brother-sister, like, kind of... Like, I win. No, I win. Like, it's kind of comical at some point. Like, it's just, I don't know. It got old after a while, especially towards the end. And he's
a lot of people say like that's just the whole film in a nutshell. It's like, it got old after a while.
Yeah.
Again, they put her in this pipe that gets narrower as it goes down, kind of as a torture method, and they start to... Do they start adding water on her? No, this is just for, to create a claustrophobic feeling. I noticed like when she's in the pipe, one of her eyes is green. Yeah, and it's very, very like visually striking. I thought but I don't know. It doesn't appear then in any other part in the movie that she has. I think it's called heterochromia, if I remember my X-Men First Class. But yeah, so in this pipe, she has blue and a green eye, but nowhere else in the movie. So, I don't know. But I don't know what that's all about. But
made me think of the water buffalo's goggles.
What?
The water buffalo goggles, like that were in the beginning. It had one color on one side, one on the other.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, so it just made me think of that, and I was like, is this supposed to be telling me something? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it kind of made me think of just more like the motorbike going zooming faster. That made me think more like a comic book, though, where you just get some panels where characters will look off model and stuff, and particularly if you read, some like Neil Gaiman's Sandman books, where it's like every couple of pages the freaking characters look different and stuff. It's just sort of like whatever mood the artist takes, or the fact that have different artists coming in all times. I don't think that's what they were going for, but it did kind of remind me of like, I'm sure probably. Sometimes different people come in. It's like, oh, maybe Tank Girl has green eyes. Maybe she has blue eyes. Maybe she's got multicolored eyes. It's just sort of throw it out there. It's all mishmash of whatever. Who cares?
Yeah, because they definitely. I like the animated sequences where she does look just however the animator wants to portray her and the world around her. Yeah.
That's very that's real Aeon Flux kind of animation too, where it's just really it's a very 90s aesthetic to that as well.
Yeah,
it's so MTV.
Yeah. I definitely want to talk about we're I guess kind of introduced to the concept, I guess, of the Rippers, because they show up at this facility, and I think they get there and it's very apparent that the Rippers have been there and just tore through all of the people, all the guards, all the workers at this outpost that they go to. And then they figure out that they're using these sinkholes maybe to get around, and so they want Tank Girl to sink into a sinkhole. I like the guy that's like leading her out there. 1 second he's there, and then the next second he's not there. Really cool idea. And then the Rippers just show up and just start tearing the crap out of everybody. And they're definitely going for a Predator / Alien vibe. A lot of the sequence, Jet Girl is like monitoring from the jet that she's flying. And that's all like in, what's the infrared. So it kind of gives you that Predator visualization. And then the suits that the Rippers are wearing are, you don't really get a long-lasting look at them in this sequence, so it's very frantic and quick cuts, and I think Predator is what they were going for there.
Yeah, I think it's again all the build up as well, like it kind of making these things seem like they're going to be really cool.
Yeah,
and then when you see the fact that they turn out to be kangaroos, it's just like
what? Yeah. In this like carnage. The dust clears, and you see Kesley's arm is like laying on the ground, and I guess it's clear that it's his arm. I forget if there's an identifying.
Oh, there's the watch on it that was tracking her.
There you go, the watch. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise to me that they'd rip off his arm. Later, quickly, you find out that like his face was also like ripped off or something, and so they're gonna.
That is one of the and talking about potential budget constraints. When it keeps cutting back to the Kesley, and it's like, was McDowell like paid by the second or something? Because they have like they also kind of fake you out with that, where they have he's lying in recovery and he's got this face mask on and stuff.
Yeah,
but it's just basically so Malcolm McDowell can just phone in the part and just have some random guy lying on the table, and it's for a good like massive chunk of the movie that is his character, as if then to build up like, what's he gonna look like? He's gonna be really grotesque, and then of course when you get to it, he just looks like Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, that was kind of a disappointing. I guess it's setting you up to play with your expectations, I guess, but. Yeah.
They do a double twist on it, to be fair.
Right.
But it is a bit like, I was kind of hoping he was going to be all scarred and cool and stuff. But like, no. It's just like, we got Malcolm back on set. He finally came in today.
Yeah. Well, and I thought like, because when James Hong shows up, just James Hong from everything, he's like the Dr. Robotnik kind of character of this movie. He clearly like cuts off Kesley's head, and I thought the head was going to be then put on some kind of body, not I didn't think the body of Kesley was going to stick around, so
but now it's all body, no head.
Which
is, to be fair, it's an original twist on it, but I think they were also going by having James Hong into. I thought it might have been like a little Blade Runner thing because he, of course, was like the guy who was like building the eyes and the parts for the replicants and stuff in Blade Runner. So also in a kind of weird freezer thingamajig.
Mm-hmm.
But, it could have been a little callback to that. But also it could be the fact that James Hong is, I think, contracted to be in literally everything that exists ever.
Yeah. Man, that guy had a huge body of work.
So, you were talking about this.
He's still going though. He's like, that Batman, like the sort of blaxploitation Batman like animated movie they had out earlier this year. James Hong, one of the voices, like Jesus Christ,
really?
Just retire already. He's like, 92, still cracking.
Well, he passed away like a year or two ago, so he must have recorded that a couple of years ago, I guess.
Did he? I thought he was still.
No, he just passed away. Let's see, James Hong. He's in the credits here somewhere. There we go. James Hong.
I think James Hong.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
he's still alive. I thought he died.
Yeah, no,
who am I thinking of?
Somehow James Hong has returned.
Yeah.
Well, he's immortal. If you've ever seen Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, yeah.
I could have swore he died like a year or two ago. Man, that's weird.
He's just like, there's still films being made.
Yeah.
James Hong is still going to be in them.
Huh.
He's like Tupac. It just keeps coming out after his death.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
All right, well, never mind that.
You set me on a deep dive, Travis.
Okay.
Okay, you said Predator, and I looked it up, and okay, Stan Winston is part of this movie.
Yes.
So that's
he
where
designed
the stuff comes from.
Well, he designed the Ripper, like the faces, the puppetry, I'm sure the suits that the Rippers, or like the animatronics, probably to operate their ears and that kind of stuff. And when we do
did it all for, did it for half price too. Like he was enthused about this. Like I think they approached him and they're like, "There's no way Stan Winston's going to do this." And once he kind of caught wind of the project, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, that sounds like it'll be a real challenge. It'll be loads of fun." And apparently he brought his rate way down so they could afford him, which is again very nice of him. And it's again one of those things though, like the movie's got so much going for it, like all the pieces are in place, but it's like it's just not quite making it as a cohesive whole though.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't. Watching it, I didn't realize he was part of this, but I was impressed with the Rippers because I mean, it was better than like some of the Ninja Turtle movies. And, like,
I didn't think they looked too bad.
Ice-T even like through all that, like it still was Ice-T. Like I don't know, it was insane how well they did with the Rippers.
Yeah,
I think apparently. Ice-T was like on some like a hip hop review show or something, and the host was trying to joke around with him by like taking the piss, like, "Oh man, you did Tank Girl, what the hell were you thinking?" And Ice-T was just like, "I got paid $500,000 to do that movie," and the host just kind of like, "Okay," just went on about the rest of the movie.
I thought you were gonna say he was like, it was one of my favorite films, and it was just gonna be awkward. Oh no. Man,
I have no fair play to Ice-T for doing it though. He's a place in my heart though, because the people who listen to Batman might recall we recently did a hiatus episode all about Leprechaun in the Hood, which features Ice-T versus the Leprechaun at one point, and we did a whole it was a great scene of Ice-T in a bathroom smoking a blunt with the Leprechaun. And it's just like the guy's got good humor about him. I'll give him that. It's like, Ice-T, he's up for this kind of stuff. So I was like, if he wants to be a kangaroo, of course he does. Why wouldn't he be? Who wouldn't want to be a kangaroo for Stan Winston?
Yeah, I can't imagine that was easy makeup days.
I think it's like a 4-hour job too each time. So it's like, oof. I don't know what you have to do, but you just have to make yourself go limp, I guess. Just like, all right, this is every goddamn day. But the end results, hopefully it'll pay off in the end.
All right, so we were right at, I guess, Jet and Tank Girl joining forces.
Yeah, they've, like I said, the dust's all cleared at the outpost that had got, tore up by Rippers, and now it's Tank Girl and Jet are together, and this is the what I was talking about before, where it makes this sudden leap from here to the next location. And they do that with like this animated, I don't know, it's like maybe a 2 or 3 minute animated segment of them. Like she now has a tank that she's, commanding, and Jet has a jet that she's flying. And so the two of them are like kind of racing across the desert, I guess. And, the cartoon part of it is kind of nonsense, but it's fun. It's like they're just having a blast, going from point A to point B. And then when it cuts back to live action, they're suddenly in this location that I thought was Tank Girl's like house originally, because she has there's this carving of a Ripper that the little girl had done that's now here. So at first I thought, okay, she just went back home. But then you find out they're now in the location of the Sub Girl, like somehow. So there's not enough like explanation, I guess, for me, of them leaving that outpost and then arriving to this place, because they don't set up where they are now, what this place is. It just for me, it was just I do believe that animated segment was just thrown in there to get like a point A to point B. Like, well, I don't know. We didn't shoot this section, so we just gotta fill in the blanks here, I guess.
Yeah. Again, considering that it is adapting a comic strip, like something that was just like little almost borderline sketches of just this is the random inventions. The film for a while does become kind of like, here's a bunch of random strips, basically. Like Tank Girl and Jet go here. They do here's a little animated version. Here's them doing a montage, of getting dressed and stuff. Here's them. They meet Sub Girl and all this kind of thing. It's just like, it feels, in terms of like a narrative, a bit flimsy, because it's a bit like, this is a bunch of random crap that happens, and they just meet a bunch of people, and then eventually you get back to the story that you're supposed to be, invested in. But
and the weird thing is, the animated stuff is done really well. Like, it was fun watching that sequence. It's just that story-wise, I didn't know where we were going, or what the reasoning for being in this new place was for. And then so they meet Sub Girl, and she tells them, I think this is where they find out that the little girl has been taken to Liquid Silver, I think is the name of the place.
Happy Fun Time Land. Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of sets them, I think, on the path to going to get her. And then I think Jet Girl says, like, well, we can't show up in the tank and the jet. Like, they'll recognize them, because they're still very, water and power issued vehicles. And so you get this new montage of them customizing these two vehicles, and at the end of it, they're 100% different vehicles. Like, they're not just with paint jobs. Like, literally the physical structure of both of them is completely different. And I had a problem with that, just in my head, like, understanding that, especially because Jet's fighter jet, it goes from like a troop transport type, large enough to carry several people, to like this kind of one-person fighter jet. And then when they need to revert back to it later, it just suddenly is now the original form, and that I had a problem with that. That felt like very flimsy storytelling that I couldn't really wrap my head around.
Yeah.
It's a comic strip.
Yeah.
I
That's
guess.
all you got.
Yeah. So that kind of takes me to one of my main points in this, is that around this point, the movie turns into The Mask, where suddenly Tank Girl has kind of these reality warping powers that the Mask has, like
the musical,
the musical number, and like this sort of thing, and when they're we'll get to it later. But yeah, just suddenly now she definitely feels like a Bugs Bunny or the Mask type character, and the movie itself then kind of changes too to go along with it, and that felt like such a 180 compared to where the quote unquote rules that they set up in the beginning of the movie, it doesn't give you that sense of like, oh yeah, she can just, do a montage and suddenly her jet or her tank is completely different. Like that feels too cartoony to me. Too big of a tone shift for me to jump on board with, I guess.
Yeah, it could have been beneficial just had they moved that vibe to the movie from the get-go. Because I think like, in the comic strips and stuff, it was just immediately introduced to she already has the tank and she already can she's already super zany and can, it's a comic, anything can happen kind of thing. But this does set up like a kind of a base reality that then turns out to like, trying to perform a rescue. And she's got this sort of, we call it the madame, this sort of villainous character keeping the little girl like hostage. You might as well just put a cigar in her mouth that blows up or something. Like it's just that level of like goofy cartoon bullshittery where it's like, okay, I guess everyone's singing this song now, and that worked. It's okay. Like what?
This madame character, who's like, she's kind of in charge of this, for lack of a better word, it's like a nightclub in the middle of the desert. Lots of like half naked women dancing around, lots of water being just freely, like, fountains with water, and it's just very decadent.
I think you're looking for the word brothel.
Okay. Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Yeah. Because then we hear the madam. She talks about some visitor once is into the whole schoolgirl thing, and so the madam says like, oh, give her, I forget what her name is. Give her the girl that Tank Girl is there to rescue. Sorry, trying to think of what's next. But so then Tank Girl and Jet Girl show up, and it's like they do like a Pretty Woman montage thing, like, of them like changing outfits, or at least Tank Girl like changing outfits and doing this montage. And it's like, for me, I had a hard time, like, there's a little girl here who's about to be like sexually, assaulted, and like we're doing wardrobe changes and montages, and it just felt like it really let
random Iggy Pop cameo.
Shows up. Yeah. That's rat face.
Yep.
Yeah.
That seems like the joke is that he might be like a pedophile.
Well, I think like or he's the.
I don't think he might be. I think he just is.
Yeah, but I think it's like his job to get the girl to where she needs to be. But yeah, I'm sure he's also a huge, POS.
Oh, I thought he was the client.
I don't think so. Maybe he was. I took it as like one of the more businessmen type that we see at a certain point in this brothel. Like you see some businessman looking people. I assumed it was one of those types that was the customer.
I think it goes back to the tone of the movie you were talking about, where you have a goofy montage of dress up, and then you also have a serious potential pedophilia type scenario. So you get like a mix of Roadrunner and Road Warrior constantly going back and forth.
It's jarring, and
that would have been a good tagline though for the poster. It was like Roadrunner meets Road Warrior. There you go. That's like, you've marketed the movie right there.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that reminds me. We never did taglines at the start of this.
There ain't a whole lot to talk about. It's not even worth it. I don't think the marketing team was on board for this movie.
Yeah.
I think one of the things they did, I remember the scene they promoted it on, was that at one point they approached like Steven Spielberg to help make it, and he was like, oh no, that's not for me, that's too hip. And I think they put on some promotional material like too hip for Spielberg or something, which is like, all right, you might as well lean into it, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, can we quote you on that?
The fact that he used the word
at the same time, this is around the time he's doing friggin' Animaniacs, so like maybe if he knew this was in it, he might have been all over the thing.
Yeah. So like in and among this, like the Pretty Woman montage, wardrobe change is over. Tank Girl has like just kind of randomly bumped into the girl, and
it was a real bit of like again, how flimsy the story is. It's like, oh, that's a massive convenience that out of all the places you just happen to bump into this little girl.
Right. And then
conveniently, she still has the sphere.
Oh yeah. That was cool. Yeah, she uses that on Iggy Pop, yeah. I keep saying the girl. I'm looking at IMDb. Her name's Sam. So, sorry. Then Tank Girl and Sam are like heading. I think they're going down an escalator, and then the madam is just like on her. Like she just points out Tank Girl and is like, "Get her," you know. But they didn't establish that the madam even is aware that Tank Girl's here and is trying to steal Sam back. Like it's just it makes these tiny little leaps of like.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I guess now the madam is aware that they need to get after Tank Girl. It just, I don't know. Some little moments that I feel like need a little bit of connective tissue. But
I think a lot of it was, though, one of the major things that Rachel Talalay has said, like, what she considers the problem of the film to be is that it was taken out of her hands and edited.
Oh.
You know, within an inch of its life, and
okay,
she says like a lot of things in it don't make sense because there were scenes where they did make sense that were taken out.
Well, that makes sense.
I don't know if that helps in terms of like how it leaps up to, you know, why does the madam just knows this song she's supposed to sing, and then everybody knows the song she's supposed to sing? It's like I can't imagine there's an explanation for that in any sort of, you know, uncut version, but you never know. You never know.
I think that comes down to the fact that United Artists was involved and not some indie
Could
studio.
be, yeah.
Because I think the United Artists wanted the indie vibe without the indie content.
Yeah, maybe.
Because, you know, it's Kevin Smith's fault. You know, you got Clerks, you got
right.
the big mid-90s indie is cool kind of area. So everyone wanted
Tarantino
that, but didn't want it. So
yeah. That's where you get the song and dance number that, I mean, it comes out of nowhere. Yeah. It's kind of meant to be a distraction, I guess, but it's not like during the song and dance, it's not as if anyone's like, if that was a distraction so that Jet Girl could get Sam out of there, that would be one thing. But that doesn't happen. It's just a song and dance number. And then there's a good joke here. It cuts to... I forget who it cuts to, but someone's like, "What is that?" And then this random guy who you wouldn't expect to even have a line of dialogue, just a door guard, says, "Sounds like Cole Porter to me." So that line just really worked. But
it's almost like that was almost worth having this whole sequence just for that joke.
Kind of. Yeah,
it was a long sequence.
And
that went on.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and. So my next note is like, you know, Water and Power shows up. They take Sam, and it's like I would feel bad for the bad guys taking Sam again if they hadn't just wasted all this time with a song and dance number. Like I don't feel bad for, you know, Tank Girl for losing Sam because they just did all this nonsense. And so this is, if I haven't made it clear, this is about the time in the movie where my feeling just really shifted. Like I was having fun the first half, but from here, I you know, kind of
you just checked out. Just
kind
like
of,
now.
yeah. So the rest of my notes might be more, you know, aggressive towards the movie than you know the first half. So,
I mean, fair enough if that made. Like that was part of like Tank Girl's lesson or something, because she is like, you know, a haphazard, all over the place kind of character. So maybe the lesson she learns from this is like, you should have got this kid out of here while you had the chance, instead of dicking around with a musical number. And then look what happened. But no, it's just like, it's just like a series of things that happen, and then the movie ends. Like there's no, you know, she's not really like you know, she's fallible in that way. She's like, there's no lessons for Tank Girl to learn. It's more like, no, it's just a bunch of crazy crap that happened.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is we now move into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles portion of the movie, where we find some mutants underground.
Right. Yeah, they determined that in order to get the girl, get Sam back, they need an army. So they've got to go seek out the Rippers because they are an army. And
like 6 people.
Yeah. So they just walk out to the desert and basically Tank Girl knows that if you go out to these sinkholes, I guess you'll run into the Rippers eventually. So that's what happens. And some notes that I have on the Rippers is it makes total sense that Stan Winston would later go on to do the Grinch, like the Jim Carrey Grinch movie, because like the facial structure, the nose, the snout, that is 100% just the Grinch. You know, I think he reuses that later on in the Grinch, which, I mean, hey, it works. But so watching it here, it was very distracting seeing these Rippers, you know, just looking like the Grinch. But
it's very distracting again because one is Ice-T.
Yeah.
The other one's very recognizable as Reggie Cathy.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is he doing here? Like,
I thought
he was like.
We just saw him in The Mask. He's like the guy he calls himself the Doctor. Like he's the one breaking into the bank and then gets killed right off the bat.
I thought maybe he was just like, I liked what this Jim Carrey guy got to do. Maybe I can be in a movie where I get to be in loads of crazy makeup and stuff. And then after that, he's like, no, HBO dramas from here on out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing.
Some of the other Rippers are somewhat recognizable. One of them, who plays Booga, is played by a guy named Jeff Kober, who I've seen in loads of TV. Like he's always playing like a henchman. He's been in 24, and I guess he was the mayor in Sons of Anarchy. So just has like a well-worn vibe, but he's playing like a stoner kind of surfer guy in this, so it's a completely different character than I was expecting.
And Booga is Tank Girl's boyfriend throughout the comic strip too. Like he's a mainstay character. So it's just like, the two of them. Always, you get a lot of fan art to those two, like intertwined and stuff.
Isn't he a dog?
That's the kind of thing you want to look up.
Yeah, he says it.
Upgraded to human-ish or something.
Yeah. They talk about just reincarnation is just a thing here, that, and they know what they were in a previous life. So
yeah, I wrote that down.
Maybe
what the hell did we just run into? Like it's all over the place with these guys.
Yeah.
I think that strikes me as very reminiscent of the original strips, though.
Okay.
Like, that's the kind of humor they would have, like really random. And apparently, I think the writers of the comics did say that they would try to put in more stuff clear cut to the source material.
Yeah.
But it got lost in translation. Like I think they said they put in jokes about Grange Hill, which is like a British kids soap opera. And they're like, we put in jokes about Grange Hill. We put in jokes about Benny Hill. Like things like that. And like every time they would just look at us going, what is this? And to that, I'm like, of course, man. Like you have to meet people halfway. Like if they don't get your humor, just throwing in references to British pop culture isn't going to fix anything. So... but that kind of thing though, like a dog upgraded to human via kangaroo, is like that strikes me as a very Tank Girl concept. So
one of the other Rippers that I'm very, very fond of the actor is Doug Jones, who pops up in tons of stuff. He was in Batman Returns for you, Niall, and
great speech, Oswald.
Yeah. We'll see him again. I mean, I'm sure several times throughout this, but he's the body of Silver Surfer in the Silver Surfer like Fantastic Four sequel. So
he's also in Warriors of Virtue, where he also played like a kangaroo man.
Okay.
Like 2 years later. I don't know if it was a thing in the 90s. It was like, people love kangaroos.
I vaguely remember the trailer for that movie, but that I never saw it. But
the Warriors of Virtue it is not good.
Yeah.
But I did see it a bunch. The only thing, the bad guy in it is a guy who is like much like Malcolm McDowell in this, just knows to like, all right, I'm going for it. So he goes big and hammy, and he's the one thing keeping you clinging on throughout the film. But it is not worth the sit though, even for that, quite frankly. I think it did get a sequel, weirdly enough, but
really,
whatever. Somehow.
So yeah, we're introduced to the Rippers as like actual characters, and one thing from like the production design standpoint, or I guess the costuming that I love is some of them are wearing Converse, but they've added like you can tell that their feet are like
kangaroo,
kind of like two-toed, like so that they've taken like the normal Converse and then a second Converse toe area and kind of glued it to make a shoe with two big toes, which I really like. That I thought that was really cool. But yeah, you meet these guys and they're just some of them are just kind of idiots,
Yeah, I thought Booga was childlike, and I was getting real concerned until I found out he was a dog. And that explained.
Sure.
Because at first he's like really into baseball cards instead of hanky panky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is this a child? Like, but no. Apparently, dogs love baseball cards as well.
Yeah.
Now this whole section, I kind of got lost. I felt like it's all over the place again.
There's not like a clear leader. I mean, though, it is basically Reggie Cathy's character, DT. And then you got Ice-T playing T Saint, and like he's the voice of dissent. Like he doesn't trust Tank Girl. He thinks that they're spies or whatever. So
he was a cop.
Oh yeah. Do you get the joke? Yeah. So I guess they decide they're gonna send Tank Girl and Jet to do some recon and send them to another outpost for water and power.
We get the mask vibe again with the
exactly this calendar photo shoot thing.
Although I did like there's artwork in there with the calendar pictures.
Oh yeah, that's fun. The road heist is good. Like when they're chasing down this tanker truck.
Yeah,
I thought that was really good.
Very Road Warrior. I like it.
Yeah, but then it does have some like cartoony aspects where she's just able to whistle and the tank just appears. So it's like this faithful steed. It
was like that in the beginning too.
Okay.
When the tank first showed up as its new transformed version.
Right. Yeah.
Although I couldn't tell if it was like a remote or if it was actually her whistling that did.
I assume I can buy it if it's like, Jet invented or designed it with some like, if you whistle, it'll come to you. Something.
Because we see early on, she does not know how to drive a tank. She just kicks levers and hopes for the best.
She's Han Soloing it. It's just like whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. I think at one point she literally has a T-shirt that says "Do Whatever Club" or something. So it's kind of like it's like setting out the mission statement of the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. Who cares?
Then they get like in there's some sort of ceremony when they get back to the Rippers, and it's like this to bring them into the tribe, so to speak, and then that leads to like this prayer that's just them dancing around and then the one that's like horny for Jet Girl and then Booga is like they're just all over Tank Girl and Jet, and it's kind of really creepy. Like the one is just humping. I think he even says like we want to hump or something like that, but I don't know.
Apparently there was a sequence cut as well where it was supposed to be like a more explicit sex scene between Tank Girl and Booga, and the Stan Winston's crew spent like $5,000 on creating like a 10-inch kangaroo penis.
Oh my god!
That they were apparently very proud of.
Why would it cost $10,000 or $5,000 for a
I don't know
dildo?
if it was like if it moved or whatever.
Oh god!
But like he was
only hope
not
not.
show so
yeah.
Yeah,
wow,
apparently it was very much a studio. Like, no, that's an instant. I think one of the weirder things though was Jamie Hewlett, I think, came in and tried to negotiate with the studio over this and said like, "Oh, it's not supposed to be a sexual. It's supposed to be them just like sitting, like lying naked together, being comfortable. It's like looking at your mom and dad naked." I was like, "What are you talking about, man?" Like,
they need to
you're making this
work
10 times worse for yourself. Jeez Louise.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not a great sales pitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so they start opening the crates, and here there's like some Johnny Prophet stuff here that to me felt completely out of nowhere. And I guess I missed the name drop for Johnny Prophet in the beginning of the movie. So here it just felt like, who is Johnny Prophet? What, and I picked up that like he was their creator.
Yeah.
But so for me, it felt completely flat because I felt no connection to this character. That they're all distraught. Oh, is like he's just like dead in one of these crates, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that one weird. That felt flat to me.
Yeah, because I wrote down, because she was spewing out all these groups, and that's why I knew I was looking for this guy.
Okay.
Because I wrote it down at the beginning.
Yeah. So maybe there's more, in the comics. Maybe you're supposed to care about this character more and know who it is, but they didn't really establish him. Other than
not that I recall.
Okay,
the fact that they name dropped him at the beginning made me assume we'd have a character,
right? But again, it could be that there was scenes with the guy.
Yeah,
that
that's
was just
very
cut
possible.
Out by the studio. So
yeah.
I'll also say around this time too, you do get for fans of the comic, there is a in the relationship between Tank Girl and Booga. There's a scene of them like sort of lying together. And she's got the if you ever just Google the words Tank Girl, you'll get an image of her, like comic image of her standing in a bikini top that is two giant rockets coming out of her chest.
Yeah,
and she's wearing that in that one. I guess she couldn't stand up in them because it just wouldn't stay together. But she's like lying on her back with the two of them sticking up, and it's like, oh, there you go, that's a nice little. And then Booga's wearing the kind of quadrophenia, like the blue circle with the red circle in between, which is a very iconic image from Tank Girl as well. That's his T-shirt. And then in a kind of nice moment, like the next scene, she's wearing that T-shirt. Like she took it from him and stuff. So I thought that was cute. That was a nice little, like, you see the relationship blossoming in there and stuff. But again, because it's in the middle of all this like plot, just like crates. What's happening? Wait, this guy's dead. Wait. What is happening in this anymore? Kind of gets lost in the midst.
Yeah, because it's like when they're doing the calendar photo shoot at this outpost, she's taking pictures of guns and weapons, and they're trying to get these crates that are supposedly full of weapons. And then when they finally get back to the Ripper base, it's like now the crates are full of dirt. And it's like they were set up from the start or something, and there's stuff like that going on, and I guess there are moments throughout this section and where you cut back to Kesley, and he's like aware of everything that's going on. Like there's he's got audio of everything, and he seems to be aware of her movements, every step of the way. And they'll explain that, but I think you're meant to believe maybe Jet Girl is setting her up, or that there's some deception, or someone is, a spy or something like that. But they decide at this point they need to just take the assault straight to Water and Power, like I guess their main facility. They still have Sam to rescue. This is where they mentioned that the paint job now on Jet Girl's jet is different, so they need to revert it back to the original, which also is when it goes from being this one-person fighter jet to a troop transport type, jet plane. So again, that's just something I had a big problem with.
We'll also say though, again, in potential little intertextual references and whatnot, there is a sequence here where I think at the beginning, when the Tank Girl's I think it's when she's breaking into Water and Power, she's got like a pair of sunglasses on and this kind of wrap around her head, and it looks very much like in Birds of Prey when Harley Quinn comes into the police station and she's like, I'm here to report a terrible crime. And she's wearing the exact same outfit.
Yeah,
like you can see them going like, all right, yoink, that's it. So affectionately done, I guess.
Yeah.
But and I think they have been quite open in saying like, oh no, it's an influence. So there you go. It was noted.
Yeah. That may have been when when they were going to that outpost, when they did the calendar shoot as a distraction, because in there she was kind of, I think, wearing those sunglasses and like dressed as if she's like a art director, fashion kind of person maybe. But here, when they're taking the fight directly to Water and Power, it's a cool section where she's doing like a para tank kind of thing, where she's on a parachute, being trailing behind her tank. So I thought that was really cool, just visually. Like it's a cool way to enter a scene.
Strategically, not the best idea.
Probably not. No. But yeah,
I have this tank. Let me get out in the open where everyone can shoot me.
yeah.
Should note though, because I don't think we've emphasized this throughout. That tank is cool though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, all the custom stuff on it. It looks great.
For sure. I love that there's like a big
Pee-wee's play tank. It made me think of Pee-wee Herman.
Okay.
Like all the weird wacky crap all over.
Yeah, there's like a very Tim Burton-esque figure on the front, like a masthead kind of thing that looks like it's out of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Like when he turns into the sandworm kind of.
Yeah, there you go. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. That's actually when weird Beetlejuice vibes, like when they show you the house at the beginning.
Yeah.
The house amongst the sand. It reminded me of like when the house, when Beetlejuice, when they go outside and they're on Saturn all of a sudden. Yeah. And it's just the house behind them covered, surrounded by sand. It's like, that's what it might be again. That's what they're going for.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it is just an attack on this facility. The Rippers are inside the facility, and they're kind of doing their thing, going a little savage, like they've been teased to be.
Well, the Prophet got taken out, so they're mad.
Yeah.
But
and
they don't use guns.
as no, they're just like hand-to-hand fighters, I guess.
And I did not realize kangaroos could not see in the light, because they have like some issue with light.
Yeah, they just don't like the light very much.
They're not effective in light, which I guess that's why they have to turn the power off to
I guess.
keep going.
Maybe these guys have just been genetically engineered to be more like stealth.
That's true. They were supposed to be soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe
which would explain why they would all wear like helmets and stuff. But in this section, only Reggie Cathy's character is wearing the helmet. Yeah. Probably because they didn't want to design and build, 10 helmets for these guys, because that just would have cost probably too much. But he ends up getting killed. Like, I thought it was really lame that like he's wearing all this body armor, but just gets shot to death by just some standard looking handguns. So I don't know. DT dies, and then that sends the rest of the Rippers in another like rage filled,
Howl fest.
Yeah. But I did think, like, once it kind of comes back to Kesley, like, it's a good plan, because this whole thing is about drawing out the Rippers and getting them into, basically drawing them out so that he can wipe them all out. And it's like, yeah, that's a solid plan, and it worked.
He's lucky there was only 6 of them.
Yeah.
I think this around the time then you do get the reveal of Kesley, where he comes back. And they're kind of doing almost like a friggin' Dr. Claw thing with him for a while, where his face is always hidden behind things, and you just see this mechanical arm and stuff.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's like, the reveal is like, oh no, he just looks like Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah. Apparently his head is just holographic, and he's got this one robotic arm that can cut through anything or whatever. So
and you can start getting very real Lawnmower Man CGI vibes from his head starts warping around and stuff from time to time. And it's like, okay, you're going for a thing. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I thought his head was somewhere safe, because he says, "You can't hurt me, but I can hurt you." But
right.
That doesn't appear to be it. I don't quite understand what is going on. Is his consciousness in the collar that's around his torso? I don't.
Right.
No idea. Like where his brain is inside, like brain's like Krang. Maybe it's inside his stomach now.
Yeah, I got the sense that like his brain is probably somewhere on another, I don't know, hooked up to something that's controlling the body. But that doesn't really.
That's your sequel right there, though.
Yeah,
you that.
If
turns out the brain's still alive.
Yeah. And she defeats him. Like, it's a decent little fight between the two of them. I mean, now I can't picture what happens in it. so I don't know
He
how
gets
good
his
of a
arm
fight it
caught
was.
a couple times. He gets magnetized to something. The tank shows up, and then she shoots.
I like
the
her.
water
She does
bucket.
a little Muhammad Ali impression.
Yeah,
of the
that's
whole,
good.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was a good line. What does she say? Like, I'm gonna.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna hit you so hard, your children will be born bruised.
That's it. Yeah, I did like that. Yeah,
Yeah, she's definitely got some
I think
dated
that's
references. That's for sure.
she defeats him. I think with his little water bottle, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I think at first there's a bucket of water falls
right.
on his head.
Right.
Shorts out the collar, which is kind of like the Palpatine ironic gif coming in.
Yeah.
Because he was felled by the thing that he was creating.
Yep.
But
Water
then,
being his undoing is a good, thematically it's good that plays a part. Yeah.
And also too, because it does cut to one like cartoon of him like melting like the Wicked Witch.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit odd because you can tell maybe they did them very early on, but it's just like that drawing looks nothing like Malcolm McDowell. Like it just looks like a guy with white hair.
Sure.
It's like, I feel if you knew it was Malcolm McDowell, you'd make it look more like him. But although that could be just the artist is like, I can't draw Malcolm McDowell. I can only draw a generic white guy.
Yeah.
Like that just has white hair. I don't know, but
Okay. I thought it was
and then,
pulled
yeah,
from
they
the
had
comic
the
or something. Malcolm McDowell.
no, I
just
think
didn't look like
they
him.
all did like original.
Okay.
They did original. There's a lot of stuff I think in the opening credits and stuff that will be from like the old strips, but I think all the stuff throughout is literally like, no, we made that for the movie to sort of for synergy and things like that.
I was gonna give it a pass, but now I'm not. No excuses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the death blow then is felled by his not double irony. Like not only did the water take out his CGI head, he's actually then killed by his own device. So
yeah, gets the water sucked out of him, and then that's kind of it. Like the Rippers
save the
show
girl.
up. They save Sam at some point. Yeah, they get her out of the pipe that she's in, that's filling with water.
The water's free.
It just
I'm sure it'll rain at some point.
right. Yeah, I kept expecting that to end in like this massive rainstorm. That finally
that was the original ending was that sub girl who's called Sub Girl because she has a submarine.
Yeah, I figured.
She was supposed to burst in the submarine.
Huh.
Through a sand submarine or something. And she was supposed to save the day. And then at the very last scene was going to be like it starts raining, and then Tank Girl burps into the camera. But yeah,
okay.
The ending, in comparison, the ending does feel a bit abrupt. It does feel real like, all right, it's done. We're finished.
It kind of just ends with her and Booga. I think it's like a freeze frame of them kissing, and I gotta say, like throughout the movie, I was way more into the relationship between her and Jet Girl, and I think even Jet Girl, I picked up on like a note of like maybe rejection when they were with the Rippers, and they kind of paired off with when Booga started to take interest in Tank Girl and vice versa, and then the other one was all over Jet Girl. Like I thought maybe there was some rejection feeling that was going somewhere from Jet Girl of like, oh, Tank Girl doesn't want me anymore. I thought that was going to lead somewhere. But I felt more of a connection with those two than her and Booga. But I mean, I'm sure there's probably more of that more in the comics of establishing their relationship and between Tank Girl and Booga, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm sure it makes sense, but
like her and Jet Girl as well.
Okay.
Like because again, the Tank Girl is sort of is a lesbian icon as well. So yeah, there is there is an LGBT element to their relationship.
Yeah.
And it's again, probably just mid-90s. They're like, we can give you that kiss.
Yeah,
that's all you're getting.
Yeah.
And then there's like, I guess she's got to hook up with the kangaroo guy. So
because it's a man.
At least at least it's hetero.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the censorship of the 90s. We would rather she be in a bestial relationship with a kangaroo.
Yeah.
And it's not even a kangaroo
hook up with
man.
a lady.
It's a kangaroo dog, man. Like
yeah, that's even another layer of weird.
That's very childlike and
yeah,
in a disturbing way.
Yep. So I mean, that's Tank Girl.
Yeah. So good. And this is one of, again, now I do have like a lot of affection for just the aesthetics of Tank Girl and for Laurie Petty's performance and just for the ideas behind the whole scenario. Yeah. But it is a complete mess of a movie. Like you can tell that it's been chopped up. You can tell that they probably wanted to do more with it. But it probably it's exactly like you're saying. Like it just got scooped up by someone who's like, oh, this is like a cool indie thing to do. We can make like a cool indie movie. And then they're like, well, we can't have any of that in it though. Like we have to rein this thing in and make sure it's more palatable for the mainstream, popcorn eaters. And then it wasn't. And it bombed, and it's just sort of now a kind of cult relic, Unless, of course, it does get rebooted by, it seems to be coming down the pike at some point. But whether that will work out any better, it's hard to say. It probably will end up seeming a bit more like, you're just trying to, much like people said that. Birds of Prey was riffing on Deadpool too much. Mm-hmm. Just then to come out the third would be like, oh, so you're just trying to do that again.
You're right.
You can't just keep going and ripping off the same thing over and over again. And then the Tank Girl fans will be like, but they did it first, for Christ's sake. What do you want from them?
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I feel like they'd have a hard time, like I said, doing any kind of Tank Girl reboot or, thing now in the age of Harley Quinn and Deadpool and Space Jam.
It feels like it would suit better being like an Adult Swim cartoon.
It would, yeah. If you made this a series, that's a great point. Turn it into an animated series.
I like the animated pieces, and felt like it should have been that, or like it gave me like a trauma film kind of vibe.
Okay, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Ooh,
and that's more
Tank Girl versus Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Why not? Actually, yeah.
Trauma could have gotten away with doing more of the, I think, feeling behind Tank Girl, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think they actually are doing like I remember hearing a while back they were going to reboot Toxic Avenger, and it was like Peter Dinklage was attached, and it's like. I don't think you're getting what the appeal of Toxic Avenger is. Like, it's not. If you put an established actor in that thing, it's done. Like, it's supposed to be grimy, underground, cult, weird stuff. Don't put a big budget behind it, and don't put in a name actor, for Christ's sake. But the Tank Girl could be the same thing, though. If you cast complete unknown and drastically reduce the budget and just let the people behind it get creative on how you're going to actually convey this thing. And make it like a little short, like 20-minute TV show somehow.
Yeah,
it could be great. But I think then to come and give it like throw a couple of $100 million at it, and then just cast Margot Robbie or someone of that ilk, Samara Weaving, because she looks exactly like her. It could end up in like, nah, man, it's just it's not quite there.
Right.
I don't even know if they would too, because I think Birds of Prey as entertaining as it is, didn't do well in the box office either. So I don't know if you will ever get that happening, but fingers crossed we could be coming back here in like 10 years time to talk about the Tank Girl reboot at some point to see what happens.
We'll see. Should we do some wrap up stuff?
Sure.
We'll talk about most heroic and most villainous moments.
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe is power. Pure, unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
My most villainous moment is clear to me. So I'll kick it off with the madam like giving up Sam as this like schoolgirl, like whoring her out to whatever whoever the customer was. But yeah, that moment was one that I was a little surprised by, and then that stood out to me.
Yeah. I think I'll go up there with the introduction to McDowell has been like the most villainous though, because that is, not only does he kill the guy by sucking out all the the water out of his body, but it's also the making him walk across glass.
That's a great moment. It's very Darth Vader, like dressing down the guy and then like knocking him down a rank before killing him or whatever,
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was good. That's definitely my top pick. My runner up as far as villainous cliche goes is getting a robotic arm. In that sequence, I was like, all right, we're building the villain again. I guess like Darth Vader a little bit there.
Yeah.
That'd be great though. They just had like a sequence of like sneaking into him on an egg, and this is like a Malcolm McDowell head coming down and getting screwed onto his body.
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
Makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
What about most heroic? Anything that stands out to anybody?
I think that Muhammad Ali impression while she's fighting him, that really stuck out to me. That has been a highlight, so I'll go with that.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like the tank paragliding. That's a very heroic entry.
That's probably mine too. Yeah, I can't really think of another. Well, I really like the sequence where she is taking on the truck on that road heist that I was talking about, and like at one point she's just like riding on the barrel of the gun on the tank and just like appears into the window of the truck driver, and I don't know, that whole sequence I really liked, so I say that was pretty cool. Yeah. Should we rate this thing?
If you can.
Yeah.
Do we have to?
Right.
It's a weird one to rate.
Sure.
Because it's some of it's the vibe that they're going for. I don't know.
What I'll say is it's a good one to have. It's a great movie to have for background at a party.
Yeah.
Like if you just want something on a TV that looks cool, that people will be like, "Oh, what's this?" and kind of watch a couple of scenes and then go about their business.
Yeah.
Tank Girl is perfect for that.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh yeah, I get this. This looks great, but I don't know if I could sit for like 100 minutes and watch it with an actual story and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go ahead. I gave it a 2.
Okay.
I can appreciate like the like look, and it's definitely, it could be like a cult, related movie. I could see people dressing up and cosplaying as some of the characters. But I would have liked it, I think, better as an animated film, as we discussed. Some of this was just, it felt shoehorned, or maybe like, I guess, neutered in a sense from what its original source material is. But I can still appreciate the effort. So I didn't hate watching it. I was confused watching it. I don't know if I'd necessarily watch the thing in its entirety again, but it definitely is like if you're at like a tap room brew house place and it's on in the background kind of vibe, I could see that. Just to have something kind of artsy in the background.
Sure. Yeah, something just out of the norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's not a great film.
Yeah. I'm also, I kind of initially gave it a 1.5 because that was my initial reaction. Because I, like I said, in the second half of this movie, it just went downhill really quickly for me. I liked the setup. I liked, kind of where it was going. I liked the animated and the comic panel, like interstitial kind of stuff that was pointing out little things, and I liked all that. I liked the aesthetic of the movie. But yeah, then once it turns into The Mask, it really just I started to lose it, especially given what the stakes were. Like, we're trying to rescue some girl, and it never really feels like it's a movie about like, oh, we got to rescue this kid. You know, it just feels like we want to take the fight to water and power for just no solid reason behind anything.
I forgot about the water.
Okay. Yeah.
I forgot that was a
right.
thing. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And Niall, you talking about like the editing may have been kind of taken away from where Rachel Talalay wanted it to go. Like, that makes a lot of sense, and it makes a lot of sense that maybe they just didn't have the chance to shoot some stuff, so that's why they used the animation in some places. So that's why I felt like that was all over the place for me. So yeah, I got to stick with my 1.5. I did not enjoy this once it was over. You know, I probably will never watch it again. So now, yeah.
It's out of 5?
Out of 5,
right?
yeah.
Out of 5. I actually think I'd go 2. Actually, I was going to say 2.5, but that's too high. I'll go 2.
Okay.
Because I think it is, like, story-wise, it is a mess, and it is, like, it's actually quite, in terms of story, it's quite boring, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I could look at, like, you know, the production design and the costume,
right?
And elements like that. I could look at stills from Tank Girl all day long. Like, I love everything, the aesthetics of what they're putting on the screen. And for that, like, I have to really applaud them and be like, no, there was a lot of effort made, and there wasn't. The fact that Rachel Talalay wants to have another go at it speaks to, like, a passion behind the whole project and stuff. So I have to commend it on that level, at least.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, for whatever situation, like, it does seem to be an odd one where she said that, like, her and the creators of the comic got on great while they were making it, and she felt like, oh, it was a great, you know, there was a lot of synergy between us. We were really on the same page. And then those guys came out afterwards going like, this was a nightmare to make.
Wow.
They didn't understand what we're going for at all. And I think she was a bit like, oh, I didn't get that. Like, it feels like there was a lot of friction there going on. And I know there was other things, like, apparently before Laurie Petty came on, they had an actress, Emily Lloyd, who was supposed to play Tank Girl, who was like, she's the daughter of Roger Lloyd Pack, who was like a massive British sitcom star.
Okay.
And she got like fired at the 11th hour and stuff for like friction with Rachel Talalay. So I do kind of wonder, like, it's what, you know, with all the passion going on, there does seem to be a lot of button heads and weird cross purposes and stuff going on behind the scenes too, and the whole mess of the studio interference and whatnot. So it's a real, like, all that kind of knocks it down, because you can just see it had such a drastic effect on the actual narrative of the thing. But still, at the end of the day, though, could listen to that soundtrack nonstop, and could look at, you know, the outfits and the sets and that tank and that jet and stuff. So I have to give him at least a 2 for that alone.
Right on. That gives it a 1.83 repeating overall. I mean, on another day, thinking about it, I could maybe bump mine up to a 2 and just give it a solid 2 across the board. But I mean, it's somewhere around there, anyways. So, but yeah, I mean, that's, as I said, that's Tank Girl.
So I don't think we changed Brian's opinion on the movie and made him like
it. Probably not. Yeah.
Maybe appreciate it is a better way to look at it.
Yeah.
Can you appreciate the effort?
Absolutely. The visuals, like Niall was saying,
Petty and
visually,
McDowell really bought in. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I don't think I've ever seen Malcolm McDowell not buying in.
True.
Yeah.
He is a guy, like, no matter what crap you serve him, he's like, all right, well, you're getting a performance. You know, he'll bring his A game. But yeah,
he's consistent. See, so I guess, Niall, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
Well, I'm currently on Batminute, which I've been on for some time. But we have a podcast that analyzes the Batman films 1 minute at a time. And right now, we're deeply entrenched in Batman and Robin. So you're talking about bad movies from the 90s.
Yeah.
But I'm into the Stockholm Syndrome stage with it now, though, where I'm just like, it's all great. I don't know why anyone have it, because I'm just having to look at it all the time. Like, we literally had one of our upcoming guests was the guy who wrote the novelization.
Oh, okay.
And we're like, he came on, was like, all right, so this scene's fantastic, isn't it? And he was just like, no, this is all garbage. What are you crazy?
Nice.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, though. A lot of fun to record. So.
Yeah.
And again, that's coming out now. You can find that on Twitter, just Batman It, on all the social medias. Just look up Batman It. We'll be there.
Very cool. Thank you for joining us for Tank Girl. You definitely brought, a lot more knowledge to the property than we certainly had going in, so that was good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Next up, we have a movie that now you may have heard of this one. Called Batman Forever.
Oh yeah, I have some sort of passing knowledge of it. As a concept, but we'll say we finished recording that season of Batman Forever like 8 or 9 months ago. I kind of miss it. It's just like I have so much affection for that movie. But go have a good time, guys.
Yeah, I know I will.
It's a mixed bag, but it's a fascinating movie. Batman Forever now, knowing what I know about it now.
Sure, the behind the scenes stuff and.
Yeah. We'll say if you ever, anyone ever gets the chance, and you can find a copy of the Peter David Batman Forever novelization, that is so much more of a better product than the finished movie. That's a guy who essentially fixes all the problems with Batman Forever. And I highly recommend that if you can get your hands on it.
I feel like I read that as a kid because I was, this was the biggest thing since like Ninja Turtles for me. This movie coming out. So I read the book and was really jazzed for this one to come out. So
it was one of those things, like it just hit that summer of '95 around when this came out too. It was just the aesthetics of that, just that freaking bat symbol in the question mark and stuff. Seeing that everywhere.
That's great.
It was just like this
the marketing
so exciting. Yeah. I think kind of copied it a little bit with Batman and Robin with like the Robin symbol in front of the bat symbol, but it's like it's just not quite as good.
Yeah.
It's not quite got it.
Yeah, I remember being confused by Val Kilmer being Batman because I knew him as the Iceman from Top Gun.
Right.
And I was like, that's a bad guy.
Bad guy.
See, I look at Top Gun now. I hate Maverick in it so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, clearly Iceman's the good guy, isn't he?
He's the one that's got some good points about Maverick being kind of an a-hole. So yeah, it's weird. But at the time, I thought he was the bad guy.
I was just seeing like this sequel come. I was like, why would anyone want to watch more of that guy? He's such a dick.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Who knew you could talk that much about it?
Well, yeah, I think that's probably going to do it for this one. We'll be back with maybe a character review episode after this, and then we'll come back with Batman Forever after that. But until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
In an uncertain world, in a chaotic time, justice wears a mask.
Your entrance was good. His was better.
Love is a game.
What is it about the wrong kind of man?
It's the car, right? Chicks love the car.
Power is a machine.
Now you've devised a way to read men's minds.
By the way, I've seen your mind, freak.
And revenge is a trap.
You're a genius.
Riddler and Two-Face can make a pretty lethal combination. Train me, let me be your partner.
Who's your tailor?
But first,
let's meet our contestants.
Going down.
If the bat wants to play, we'll play.
Was that over the top?
Don't work too late.
You forgot the part where you kissed the girl.
Stay thirsty out there, citizen. Stay wet.
Oh, God.
Because like legendary Bush fan coming in with some double entendres at the end right there.
Stay bushy.
Stay bushy.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.